Venkaiah Naidu onto the stage. Please keep standing for the national anthem. I now invite Professor K.V. Thomas, Managing Trustee, Professor K.V. Thomas Vidyadhanam Trust, to
the awardee of TVR Shranai Endowment Award, Sri Vinod Sharma. Ladies and gentlemen, I am very proud and privileged to be here when we are accepting and congratulating the fourth estate and its importance in Indian democracy. Sri TVR Shranai, as we know, was a veteran journalist who has been in Delhi for more than half a century. And as everybody knows, his bylines were accepted by the country and the people, just like the Bible. And I'm happy that Sri Vinod Sharma, who is one of the well-known journalists, and his writings and reports have been always impartial and well accepted. When this award was given to Sri Vinod Sharma by the jury headed by Sri Omcheri, it was just coincidence that Sri Vinod Sharma was one of the close co-worker, reporter, along with Sri TVR Shranai when the week was started. When we are giving this award, the first award, to Sri Vinod Sharma, we fondly remember TVR Shranai. We also accept the role of the media in this country. In democracy, the fourth estate plays an important role. So, on behalf of the trust, which is engaged in a large number of other activities, like midday meal to about 65,000 students, then awards to the best students who have scored high in their examinations, and also Honorable Vice President has been to Cochin last year when we distributed curry leaf plants to about 1 lakh students so that the students will be attracted to the agricultural field. So on behalf of the trust and all my good friends who have come here, as well as the family of Teacher TVR Shranai, I extend a warm welcome to Sri Venkaiah Naidu, our Honorable Vice President. We have got Mr. A.K. Anthony, and a well accepted political personality and a close friend of Mr. T.V.R. Shenoy, who has come over here, and he has such a long relationship with Shenoy as well as his family and his wife Sarojam. I'm happy that Sri Anthony is here. I extend him a warm welcome. And when Sri Vinod Sharma has been selected, after we went through about 100 names of the eminent journalists, it was unanimously decided by the jury headed by Sri Omcheri that Sri Vinod Sharma should be the first person, and I extend him a warm welcome. I'm happy that Sri Omcheri, who is the youngest among us, because he is 96, who found time, many a times came to our Kerala house, sat together, went to all the details, and he is also here. I extend him a warm welcome. I'm happy the family of T.V.R. Shenoy have come. When I extend them, I am extending a welcome to my family members. My closeness to T.V.R. Shenoy, the family, the days we have spent both in Cochin and Delhi will be always remembered. I extend a warm welcome to the family of T.V.R. Shenoy, as well as all other friends and media persons who have come over there. I extend once again welcome to all the dignitaries who have come over here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for the warm welcome. I now invite Sri A.K. Anthony, Honorable Member of Parliament, for the T.V.R. Shenoy commemorative speech.
Honorable Vice President Venkaiah Naidu ji, respected Omcheri, first award winner Vinod Sharma, my colleague K.V. Thomas, Srimati Sarojam Shenoy and family members, distinguished guests, friends from the media. In the beginning, I would like to pay my respectable homage to the memory of my long-time friend and colleague, Sri T.V.R. Shenoy. Nearly 60 years from the college days till his last days, we were friends, colleagues. When I joined as a pre-university student at Ernakulam Maharajas College, he was a first-year student in the same college. Even though he is 1 year senior to me, actually he is few months junior to me in age. He studied the same college, he stayed in the same hostel, and we worked together in the same party in the student politics. We fought many a battle in Maharajas College for the cause of students, sometimes for political issues also. When we were in the college hostel, irrespective of political parties, students' union, all of us used to sit together, discuss all topics under the sun. And T.V.R. Shenoy was the center of attraction. He got his own authentic opinion. At that time, early days, every issues. Always he bring a new book. So that time onwards, we thought, he's a genius. One day, he will become a great man. His was the final word on every issue. That was my opinion about him. During my college days, I have seen the relation starts between Shennai and Saroja Devi at that time. In our circle, it was a talk. I used to tease Shennai for the relations. But even though they almost came inseparable, Saroja Devi's father was not willing. She told Shennai, how can, because he was a rich man, how can I give my daughter to you? You have no earnings. Then Shennai told his would-be father-in-law, I'll come to you with a good job. Then I will ask for Saroja. With that determination, he went to Bombay. On the one side, higher studies. On the other side, it happens that Frank Morais of Indian Express, the moment he met him, he was attracted to this young man's abilities. He made him as a junior correspondent. After that only, they got married. Lot of stories about marriage, but because of positive time I'm telling, I don't want to say about all these things. So 59 onwards, in all the important issues, we were together. Politically also we were together. Student politics also we were together. One of his uncle was a Congress MLA also. But after coming to Delhi, he became close to Advani. Then I think he changed gradually his political philosophy. But even then, we remain friends throughout our life. Whenever in dispute, ultimately we said, let us agree to disagree. That was our final parting. Shennai as a journalist in this gathering of many media friends, I don't want to say much. According to me, he is one of the well-read journalists in India. He was. I don't find in the present day many of the youngsters are reading that much. He was one of the well-read, independent journalists, and he observed everything keenly. He started from Indian Express, then Manorama, then Week. You know, Sharma was working along with Shennai in Week. My advice to the younger journalists is, you learn the life of Shennai, study many things from that. I'm not going to other details because of short of time. One thing I find in him, whatever may be his political philosophy or other opinions, criticism as a journalist about politics, government, administration, on one thing he is always consistent. Whichever government in Kerala, whether Karnataka government, my government, Nayanar government, Ummanchandi government, Akjaran government, latest by Pinarayi government, whichever government, on Kerala's development issues, he was always supportive to the government. And he was always taking interest sitting in Delhi. Whatever way he can help in Kerala. Development, no politics. That was his consistent opinion. So I pay my respect, my homage to my old colleague from student days onwards. His family is here. His daughter also is now emerging as a journalist. I wish them well. I congratulate K.V. Thomas Foundation for this arranging for this award. Vinod Sharma, he was working with Shena in the week. Now he has emerged as one of the ablest, well-known political commentator in India. At present, he is the political editor of Hindustan Times. I congratulate him for winning the first TV Shadai Award. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your thoughts. Now we move on to the highlight of today's program. Awards are a celebration of talent, success, and hard work. The TVR Shenoy Excellence Award in Parliamentary Journalism goes to Sri Vinod Sharma, political editor of Hindustan Times. Vinod Sharma, a journalist of over 40 years' experience, is currently the political editor of Hindustan Times. Sharma began his journalistic career with the United News of India in 1978 and had a stint with The Week before joining Hindustan Times. He has since served the newspaper in various capacities as its chief of political bureau, diplomatic correspondent, and resident representative in Islamabad. He began covering parliamentary affairs and the proceedings of Parliament in the 1980s, having been a witness to the passage of several path-breaking legislations, debates, and speeches. Essentially a print journalist, Sharma is on the panel of expert commentators on domestic politics and South Asian affairs of various television news channels, notably the CNBC, NDTV, Times Now, and the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha TV. He is also a regular commentator on current affairs on the BBC, Voice of America, All India Radio, and Doordarshan. In 2004, he led the first ever delegation of Indian journalists to what is called POK and Northern areas as part of a peace exchange that included a similar visit by Pakistani journalists to the Indian side of Jammu and Kashmir. A founder member of the South Asian Free Media Association, SAFMA, an associate body of media persons from 8 SAARC countries, Sharma is currently the regional president of SAMA. I now kindly request the Honorable Vice President of India, Sri Venkaiah Naidu, to present the award to Vinod Sharma. Thank you, sir. Now we have the award acceptance speech by Sri Vinod Sharma.
Honorable Vice President, Shri Venkaiah Naidu, Mr. Anthony, Mr. Om Cherry, the Chairman of the jury, and Mr. Thomas. This, more than an award, this is a blessing from a man who initiated me into reporting Parliament in 1982. I was with you and I until the Asian Games of 1982 in Delhi. And once I joined the Malayalam Manorama group of newspapers in the week, Mr. Shenoy assigned me parliamentary coverage besides other things. So I read this award as a blessing from him, and also from very many parliamentarians from whom I have immensely learned, Mr. Vice President. It's my personal experience that despite the normally held view about our parliamentarians, if one pays attention to what is being debated on serious issues, and there are serious debates in Parliament, one emerges a much better informed person from those debates. I remember, you see, unfortunately, in recent months, we have lost some of our best in Parliament. Mr. Vajpayee, Mr. Jayapal Reddy, Sushma Swaraj, Arun Jaitley, Gurudas Das Gupta, and Anant Kumar. I'm deliberately not including the Goa Chief Minister who departed because his tenure in Parliament was a bit restricted, but surely he too was a person who held his own. I remember that once Mr. Jairam Ramesh, who's in this gathering, attempted a speech on the Panchayati Raj in Hindi in the Lok Sabha. And one couldn't but help wondering that from where has he got his Hindi? It was an excellent speech that brought out the nuances of the legislation that he was piloting, along with the robust arguments that he made. So the BJP, the left, the Congress, they have all had great parliamentarians. But when debate doesn't happen, parliamentarians don't shine. I would say personally that Mr. Pranab Mukherjee's speech on the Bangladesh migrants was his best amongst those I have heard. Mr. Arun Jaitley's speech on Office of Profit was amongst his best that I have heard. Sushma Swaraj was forever a great speaker in Parliament, but she was an admix of a public speaker and a parliamentarian. Mr. L.K. Advani was an archetypal parliamentarian. Mr. Vajpayee was a mix of being a good parliamentarian and a public speaker, and he could hold his audience in thrall. Not very many people may have noticed that Mr. P.V. Narasimha Rao, when he took the floor, he brought out such depth of learning. I remember his speech in the confidence motion of Mr. Vajpayee. It's one of the finest that I've heard in my lifetime. And Jayapal Reddy on Ayodhya, Mr. Venkaiah Naidu, the Honorable Vice President, has been a good friend of Mr. Jayapal Reddy. They came from the same state, and they had tremendous personal regard for each other. And I remember that when we invited the Honorable Vice President for a condolence meeting for him, he readily agreed, and he was there together with many other admirers from Mr. Jayapal Reddy. So these are the people from whom one learnt a lot. Debates in Parliament are a great learning experience for any journalist, because if you go through the committee reports, you would see that they have the data, they have the varied arguments presented, and they have the conclusions. Behind closed doors, they are able to strike a consensus which at times is eluding in the House. And I think that the committee system has done a lot of good to India's parliamentary procedures and practices. I would say that it's my great privilege to be receiving this award, and especially when Sarojam is there. Entire family is there. Ajit is there. Mr. Shenoy had a different worldview from that of mine. But despite that, he was one editor who never forced his worldview on any of his colleagues. I remember at that time we had some very fiery journalists working for the Week, including the late G.K. Singh, Anil Sari, son of Arjun Arora, the great communist leader. He was working for us. And then Rashmi Saxena, and thereafter many more colleagues from back in Kerala. But never ever Mr. Shenoy hoisted his point of view on us. In fact, once, and that is an episode I always relate while remembering him, that there was a car seva happening at the Akal Takht after the Operation Blue Star. And the opposition's charge, that is mainly the BJP and other Akali Dal charge, was that it is not car seva, it is Sarkar seva. Now, I just happened to get some details which tended to support the opposition charge, because the National Building and Construction Corporation, masons and workers, in the garb of repairing the Rajasansi airstrip, were actually working to repair the Akal Takht. And there were other details in that story. So I filed it, Shenoy Sahib cleared it, and then the then Principal Secretary to the Prime Minister, who happened to be very close to the Manorama family, Mr. P.C. Alexander, there was an intervention on his behalf. And there was a discussion that happened between Mr. Shenoy and Mathkuti Chain of the Manorama, another great journalist and proprietor with whom I happened to work. And I heard Mr. Shenoy telling Mathkuti Chain that if I don't use this story, with what authority will I tell Vinod tomorrow to get more stories? Is this a story which is incorrect? It wasn't incorrect. And finally, whatever discussion happened, it appeared in the Week, in the very next week. So this was a great pleasure that we had this kind of immediate superiors as also employers. I would be failing in my duty if I don't mention two people. Mathkuti Chain, who always had an inquisitive mind, and whenever he was in Delhi, he would ask us probing questions about what was happening in politics, what were our views on various things that were being debated in Parliament and also outside. And likewise, Dr. K.K. Birla, who actually happened to be a member of Parliament. So anyone who was covering Parliament couldn't have been slacking in his efforts, because he would be there and they would know better. And his call, if he was asking some questions and if he were not up to it in responding to them, that's not a good, very, very happy situation. So one day I remember that Dr. K.K. Birla, he used to come to the Central Hall and sit at a particular seat and have a cup of coffee and offer it to others around him. And after the coffee, he will give the people who are serving it one crisp note of 10 rupee note. You know, that was his. So one day he asked me a few things, you know. And I responded, I don't know for what reason, by seeking to analyze it for him. And he turned around at me and said, Vinod, I'm asking you for information, not for analysis. That I will do for myself. So these were the kind of people we happened to work. And we were always on our toes, that they would come and they'd ask. I remember that when Rajiv Gandhi, there was a defamation bill Rajiv Gandhi brought. And there was a huge protest. And thereafter, Rajiv Gandhi withdrew that bill. So Mathkuti Chain was visiting. There was some radio people wanting to come and speak to him about the whole thing. So he asked me, he said, well, what should I say? I said, sir, I'm too small a person to advise you, but now that you ask me, the safest thing to say would be that the Prime Minister has been sensitive to public opinion. And he precisely said that. So it was always a great learning experience being with Mr. Shenoy. He used to give us books. He would assign us stories and say, you read this book while you're doing this story. And at his home, we used to go often, Sarojam would know. At his home, the house was full of books. From one wall to another, It was lined with books, and I must confess that a couple of the books that he lent me are still with me, And I savor them as treasures. And one point I want to make at a personal level, that which Mr. Anthony mentioned, that I met Mr. Anthony, in fact, in the Manorama office the first time. I met Mr. Thomas in Manorama office the first time. I met K.P. Unnikrishnan in Manorama office for the first time. Dinanath Mishra of the BJP, I met him for the first time. He also happened to be very close to Mr. Advani at that time. And these were the people with whom the kind of conversations Mr. Shenoy would have were a great education for us overhearing it. His ability to accommodate the contrarian viewpoint, perhaps he learned from his personal life. Because Sarojam was a Student Federation of India activist. And Mr. Shenoy's worldview was a little right of the center. So I personally felt that we used to talk amongst ourselves, why is it so, And that is where perhaps brought the element of accommodation in his approach to his juniors. And besides that, his keenness to teach us something which is perhaps being denied to the present generation of journalists. The seniors that we had were great teachers, and that was a blessing. I accept this award with great gratitude and reverence for Mr. Shenoy. Thank you very much.
Vinod Sharma. I now kindly request the Honorable Vice President of India, Sri Venkaiah Naidu, to address the gathering.
Sri A.K. Antony, I don't want to say Member of Parliament, etc. A.K. Antony is A.K. Antony. The entire country knows him. He is one among the present-day politicians whom I admire. Not only respect, also admire, and say it openly. It's not that I am now saying it because I am not in politics, but I used to say it even when I was in active politics also. He is a very ideal politician. Professor K.V. Thomas, Honorable former Member of Parliament, Minister, Professor Umanchari Inan Pillai, Sri Vinod Sharma, the awardee, many of my friends who are here from the Parliament, present and former, and also friends from the media, present, and also some of them are former. നിങ്ങൾക്കു എല്ലാവർക്കും എൻ്റെ നമസ്കാരം. നിങ്ങളെ എല്ലാവരെയും ഉപരാഷ്ട്രപതി ഭവനിലേക്ക് സസ്നേഹം സ്വാഗതം ചെയ്യുന്നു. I invite you all to this official residence of the Vice President of India. I feel very happy to be amidst you all today for this very important function in memory of one of the great journalist sons of this country. He is genius. He is very objective, very articulative, very friendly, and then throughout his life, he maintained ethics and standards in the profession in which he was working. I had an opportunity of meeting him at Advaniji's residence on a number of occasions. And over the period of time, I developed an admiration for him because of his knowledge and also his articulation and the friendly nature. So I am very happy that Sri K.V. Thomas ji has taken this initiative to institute an award. It's a very good thing that he has done. He has been doing, of course, many good things. I've been to some of the functions organized by Professor K.V. Thomas Trust. My grandfather used to tell me that what you do as part of your job is doing your duty. But doing something out of power or out of position, out of responsibility, brings you the real happiness. He said what you do as part of your duty brings you ananda. If you do something beyond your duty, it brings you mahadananda. That is great satisfaction. This is what Mr. Thomas is doing. That's why I appreciate. Without hesitation, I have agreed this program because of his active involvement in the social work, as well as the present initiative of him instituting memory award in the honor of a great journalist of the country, T.V.R. Shenoy. I am also happy that the area chosen is T.V.R. Shenoy Award for Excellence in Parliamentary Journalism. Parliamentary journalism is very crucial because to report about Parliament and parliamentarians and make comment on parliamentarians is not an easy job. But this is a good initiative taken. And my dear sisters and brothers, I am also happy that this award is given to Sri Vinod Sharma, one of the very good, able parliamentary reporters and commentators. Sri Shenoy ji was an illustrious journalist, an editor who served the public cause through his writings for 5 decades. A reporter for excellence, he wrote extensively on issues ranging from politics, economy, to international affairs and wars. Reading his articles is a big education. I was fortunate to get educated by reading some of his articles and writings. In early 90s, his investigative journalism led to expose of several banking and stock market scams, including the Harshad Mehta scam. Sri Shenoy ji was honored with Padma Bhushan in 2003 for his service to the nation. I appreciate the initiative of Professor K.V. Thomas Vidya Dhanam Trust to honor late Sri Shenoy by instituting an award in his name. I also congratulate Sri Vinod Sharma, Political Bureau Chief, Hindustan Times, on being conferred the first T.V.R. Shenoy Award for Excellence in Parliamentary Journalism. Sri Sharma ji is a very familiar face to me, as he has been reporting on the Parliament for more than 25 years. My dear sisters and brothers, the importance of a parliamentary journalist cannot be overemphasized in a parliamentary democracy. Our parliament debates and discusses various issues of national importance every day, whenever they work. Sometimes they don't work, there is no report, and so naturally there won't be any support because there is no report. And then if there is a debate, you can report. If there is no debate and debate is given to debate, then what else you can report? But I would like the media in future to report extensively about giving the rebate to the debate also. Why? And who has done it? It's all the more important because now the tendency is not to have debate, Because some of the parliamentarians tell me, sir, what is the fun of the debate? And they say, whatever you may say and all, it's not good to be reported. Whatever you do, something extraordinary. If you do something parliamentary, it will not be reported. If you do something that is unparliamentary, then it is in the front page. This is the weakness of our system. I was sharing with people, I can share my own experience. When I came to Parliament with all my enthusiasm, I am an agriculturist. I have passion for agriculture. So there was discussion on agriculture. I read extensively using my own knowledge. And also Swaminathan ji was there, Raja was there, Ram Gopal Yadav was there, Sharad Pawar ji was there, many people were there. I spoke for 52 minutes. Everybody cutting across party lines. Some of them came to me, some of them from their seats, they complimented me. Next day, to my surprise and disappointment, no newspaper reported this, except one newspaper which said, Mr. Venkaiah Naidu spoke extensively about agriculture. That's one. So, I would urge upon the media, and particularly the reporters who are covering Parliament, please focus on debate, as and when debate takes place. And I have seen also myself, whenever a good debate takes place, really the performance of some of the members, the present generation also, extraordinary. Day before yesterday, I think yesterday, the 0 hour submissions, all of them we went through except one, 19 out of 20. The way the members made their point within that 3 minutes time, amazing. I was really moved in the backdrop of a disturbance, etc. Then I stood up from the chair and complimented the members. I was almost overwhelmed by joy. I was about to be in tears because the way each member, cutting across party lines, the way they presented their issues. But next day, unfortunately, no report and no support for the good contribution, etc. This tendency should be avoided. Because nowadays, journalism, when we are talking of Shenoy, and even when we are talking of many veteran journalists and all, the way the standards and ethics were maintained at that time, and reports were filed at that time, as Ji was telling just now about Karseva in the Golden Temple, Karseva. Amazing. Nowadays, the tendency is sensationalize. The moment you sensationalize, you will become senseless. This is what is happening. It's a disturbing trend. It should be corrected at the earliest. Our Parliament debates and discuss various issues of national importance regularly. It's a place where major policy decisions are taken. And added to that, the committee system, which was mentioned earlier, is one of the beautiful systems in our parliamentary democracy. The way the committees function, cutting across the party lines because there is no camera, there is no media. And then they try to submit unanimous reports after evolving consensus, after getting information. You can call the officers, you can question them, you can elicit information. You can raise your doubts and then they clarify. I also had experience. I was chairman of the Standing Committee of Home for 5 years continuously. It was a great learning. Raja was also there. Advani used to come regularly. Being former Deputy Prime Minister and Home Minister, I used to come and attend the committee meetings very regularly. Now that also is becoming a casualty. Now the chairmen of the committees, they tell me average attendance is not even 1/3. This is another disturbing trend. It has to be corrected. I am planning to write to all the political party leaders, drawing their attention about the need to tell their members to be present in the committee meetings. And committees, they get included out of their own choice also in most of the cases. It is the source of valuable political ideas and points of view, the Parliament. And the people are, as important stakeholders in a democratic process, have a right to know how Parliament is functioning, what is discussing, and what is being debated. They want to know what their elected representatives are saying or doing. A parliamentary reporter has crucial responsibility of reporting all of this to the public. People they form their opinions based on this information provided by the press. With this information, they make up their minds whether or not to support such a candidate in the next election. So it is your duty to present the true picture about the performance of the honorable member of the parliament or legislature, so that you can come to an informed decision while electing. And it's a different matter in our country, and elections are held. We do not have the opportunity to discuss about the qualities of legislators or parliamentarians. We will be led with other issues. So that's why I often say what is required in politics and public life is four C's: character, caliber, capacity, and conduct. But now the other forces are trying to dominate. That is caste, community, cash, and criminality. Because they don't have the first four C's. They are being done in a brazen manner. And people are being misled and carried away. And also their emotions are roused. So you will not be able to make an informed choice. So I insist that the behavior, the conduct, the contribution of the legislators, it should be reported at appropriate levels from time to time, that when the parliament is on, this is the duty the media has to perform. That's why I say this: the role of a parliamentary journalist assumes critical importance in the way he decides which issue to publicize or what angle to give to a news story. His work and orientation plays an important role in scrutinizing the functioning of the parliament, government, and the opposition. That's why press is often called as the extension of parliament. It holds the elected representatives accountable to the people whom they represent. Therefore, impartiality and objectivity of press is of supreme importance for a democracy to survive and flourish. Time and again, my dear friends and brothers and sisters, I have urged the media to not color news with views and stressed the need to maintain objectivity, fairness, and accuracy. The neutrality and sanctity of newsrooms should be upheld at all times. News and views should not be mixed. They should be separated. News is for the general pages, and views should be there in the editorial pages. Views also are important to make the people to have an informed choice. Our father of a nation, Mahatma Gandhi, who was an eminent journalist in his own right, had said, I quote, "I realize that the sole aim of journalism should be service. The newspaper press is a great power, but just as an unchained torrent of water submerges whole countryside and devastates crops, even so an uncontrolled pen serves but to destroy. If the control is from without, and it proves more poisonous than want of control, it can be profitable only when exercised from within," unquote. This is what Gandhiji has said. I have been continuously saying, I would like to continuously insist on that. Politics, journalism, medical profession, education, there used to be a mission. After the businessmen, after the politicians started owning media or controlling media or dictating media, this, like politics also, ceasing to become a mission, and now they are doing omission to their duty and also giving remission and at times commission also. This is happening in all the three. It's not one journalism or this thing. It's sorry state of affairs. No, you may say nobody would like to antagonize media, nobody would like to displease media and all. That's why many people do not speak about it. This is what is happening. There's a story yesterday, I don't know who is that, saying that in my particular case, which is now current case, the mediation was by a former editor of a newspaper. I don't want to get into details and all, because I am yet to get the total truth, and also I just took that as an example. The point is that this should be taken as a mission. And many people, through their contribution, whether it is Shanaiji, whom we are discussing today, there are a lot of people, good examples. Even the way Sri Ramnath Goenka conducted himself and gave freedom to the journalists who were working in Indian Express in his early days, or even the Mr. Nikhil Chakravarti, and then the statesman editors here, Irani, and then many more examples are there in the media who are there. And even now, the new crop of journalists, youngsters, lot of them, they take pains and they try to publish the truth and then they try to convey to the people. This is happening. This is the positive side of the story. The other side is, darker side is, as I told you, now you have fake news, you have doctored news. And earlier, if you read one newspaper, sufficient, or at the most two. Today, even if you read 5, 6, 7, 8 newspapers, you will not be able to come to proper conclusion. I read, for example, around 18 newspapers. And combine 2 newspapers, just tomorrow, you just make a trial, combine 2 newspapers. What is heading in one newspaper, do not find any place in the other newspaper. One newspaper says about particular incident or a function or a program, massive turnout. You go through the other newspaper, they say total flop. And they publish the photograph of empty chairs also, taken before the commencement of the meeting. Even here also the chair should have been empty, but for the workers who are working here, before the commencement of the meeting and all. What is happening? So-called main newspapers also, some of them are doing this. But they say, sir, this thing, point is because you have a colored view and you are representing a particular interest. I suggest that people say, sir, without sensation, they don't mean at all. We were discussing about the Week magazine. Go through the articles, divergent views, but there is depth, there is substance. And the management gives total freedom. So that's why you find contrary views also in the newspapers, the magazines like Week, where just because Shanaiji worked in that organization, I am referring to that, not to promote or not to weaken the others by supporting this Week. The truth always shall prevail. For that you need commitment. You need courage. The modern day, these things, where political parties, they try to take offense to what is being written, what is said and all. That's another thing. Because agree to disagree, that is slowly getting diluted, even in political field. Kerala is one example where they respect each other. That's why I have got a special respect also to the people in Kerala, political people and all. Even you talk to a communist, he will speak very high about a Janasanghi or a BJP man. Or you talk to a BJP man, he will speak high about Congress man. That's still that culture is there. This is need to be promoted because we have to understand in politics, we are trying to serve the people in a better manner, in a particular fashion, in a particular way of ideology and all. They are also doing service. They are competitors. But unfortunately, of late in public life, it's becoming like that as if these two politicians, they are enemies. They are only rivals. They are only rivals. Now, he was telling about his own experience with Shanaiji, early days, later, and the later days and all. How and they used to disagree in spite of being friends, batchmates, etc. That is the culture. That should be the tradition. Even now, we should not consider each as enemies. Nowadays, in politics, in certain places, you know that if a particular person comes to the marriage, the other person do not come. And if the particular person dies, the other party person do not even visit. I don't want to take examples because they will feel offended. You all know the examples from some of the states of the country and all. This we are all Indians. We are all trying to work in our own way. And we should respect each other. And we should respect the mandate of the people. First of all, we have to agree. Second is we must respect the views of the other side. And then analyze. Leave it to the society to judge who is right, who is wrong. That should be the attitude of the political system. My dear friends, the media bodies need to come up with some sort of self-regulation to ensure that credibility and reliability of press remains steadfast. And political parties also must evolve a code of conduct internally for their own party members. I have been advocating it also, the way they should function and the way. Because politicians are the leaders. People look to politicians, people look to parliamentarians, people look to assembly and all for taking inspiration. And if there is a decline in the level of their contribution, naturally it will demoralize others also and demotivate others also. The cardinal principles of journalism is to present fair, objective, accurate and balanced information to the reader and viewer without journalists assuming the role of the gatekeepers. This is particularly true while reporting on a political controversy. That's why I always say information with confirmation is more than an ammunition. You must give information with confirmation. Simply giving your own impression is not doing justice. Than opinion which argument is the strongest, a good political reporter should lay out the arguments and facts without bias and let the people take a decision on the relative merits of the argument. This is the level Sri Shanaiji is to maintain throughout his life. That's why everybody respects him. My dear sisters and brothers, press fought hard for its freedom, and this freedom should be used judiciously. Article 19(1)(a) of the Constitution guarantees to the citizen the right to freedom of speech and expression. With regard to parliamentary privileges also, press has full protection as long as reporting is true without malice and for public good. However, freedom and responsibility cannot be considered as inseparable. They cannot be unfettered freedom without any responsibility and are interdependent on each other. The other day, on the Constitutional Day, we were stressing on one issue, that along with fundamental rights, there is a chapter on fundamental duties also. Your rights are protected and you perform your duties also well. So duties and rights, they go together. They are both sides of the same coin. So this has to be kept in mind. When you ask for freedom, you must also see to it that you are performing your responsibility in an unbiased manner. When it comes to reporting on the parliament, media has one more special responsibility. It should uncode and demystify parliamentary proceedings and procedure to the larger public. People should be able to understand parliamentary functioning in easy and friendly language. I appreciate that many news organizers are already doing good work in this direction, especially while reporting the budget, but more needs to be done. And I'm always of the opinion that the media of communication should be mother tongue, basically, because you will be able to articulate better in your mother tongue, understand your mother tongue. That's the reason for some of these vernacular dailies having a larger circulation, because they convey to the people the news and views in their own language. I am not against other languages. People should not mistake that I am against. I myself is speaking in English now. But question is reporting, conveying information, presenting report in mother tongue will always enable the people to come to a better understanding. That's why I always say that mother tongue is like your eyesight and other languages are like your spectacles. The spectacles, your vision will be better if you have original eyesight. So the media and the management should focus more and more on the national languages. This will enable a deeper understanding of the functioning of our system among the masses, inspiring them to become active stakeholders in the political process, shaping the destiny of our lives and nation. I suggest that similar efforts need to be made with respect to the growing volume of the parliamentary data. Dear sisters and brothers, recently I saw a news story titled as Rajya Sabha records 90% productivity in first week of intersession. This is the power of data. A good data journalist can help the citizens better understand the institutions of parliament. The members of parliament may also become more aware of their performance. The output may improve as a consequence. Therefore, I feel that there is a need to invest in creating infrastructure, tools, capacity, and skills for data-smart journalists. At the same time, there should be unhindered access to important information generated by Parliament on a day-to-day basis in a user-friendly format. This would help masses in gaining better understanding of the functioning of the Parliament, participation of MPs and others, legislative proposals under consideration. For a democracy to thrive, it is desirable that there should be a good working relationship between the parliamentarians and the journalists. The media, on the other hand, communicates parliamentary activities to the citizens, and it also provides the valuable feedback on public opinion. Thus, media creates a two-way flow of information, which is vital for the healthy functioning of democracy and good governance. If this relationship between the parliamentarians and journalists becomes too adversarial or too close, it would undermine the public's right to know. So the relationship between journalists and the politicians, there has to be a balance. Too much closeness will close you, harm you. But too much distance also is not good, because you will not be able to get the factual, actual, inside information. And this right to know is a vital component in our quest for an informed society and informed democracy. This is important for empowerment of our citizens. But at times it is observed that adjournments and commotions tends to make news rather than substantive debates on important issues. Therefore, I would urge my friends in media to not focus on sensationalism and bite journalism and impartiality, report the multiplicity of views expressed by members in the parliament. Before I conclude, I come to the impact of latest technological developments such as social media on the institution of parliament and parliamentarians. It is true that social media has enabled parliamentarians to reach their constituencies directly, bypassing the journalists. Social media also provides a good medium for obtaining public feedback. But the parliamentarians have to be aware of the pitfalls of the social media, which has tremendous scope to spread fake news and misinformation. We need to create a system of checks and balances to curb the possible misuse of social media by anti-social elements. Today only I have suggested in Parliament, Rajya Sabha, to have an informal group of members of Parliament. I asked Jairam Ramesh to take initiative in that regard and sit together, discuss about the pornography in the social media and the way the children are being misled. It is going to be the biggest challenge to our family system, to our values, because certain sections of the social media are totally misleading the children and spoiling their thoughts and career. We need to find out something. I'm not suggesting any censorship, but at the same time, there has to be accountability. And this causing sensationalism and hurting the sentiments of the people and also devaluing the family system is a very dangerous thing. In the world, Indian civilization is respected everywhere because of the cultural ethos and because of the family system. That's one of our biggest strengths, the family system and all. And if you disturb it, it will ruin our future and also the standing of our country in the Committee of Nations. In the end, I would once again congratulate Sri Vinod Sharma for being awarded this prestigious award. He has been a very good reporter of Parliament both national issues and also international issues. He has a depth of understanding and knowledge, and he has the capacity to articulate better. So it was a right decision chosen by the committee, by Professor Uman Cheriji and others, to give this prestigious award to Vinod Sharma ji. And I would like to convey my best to all the people who are working in the field of journalism. Please recollect, revisit the life, the writings of Sri TVR Shanai. That will be a real tribute to the great son of this great country. I'm happy their family members also are here today for this function. And cutting across party lines, a lot of members of parliament and representatives of different political parties have all come here. And on this occasion, before I conclude, I'm delighted to know that Sri Achutan Nambudri, a distinguished poet of Malayalam language, has been conferred the Jnanapita Award for his remarkable contribution to Malayalam literature. His poetry, stories, and plays always echo much-needed reforms to end social evils. My best wishes to him on this momentous occasion. I hope that the Mahakavi would continue to guide and inspire people through his writings. Prasastha Malayalam Kavi, Sri Achutan Sambutrik Malayala Sahitya Mekala Ide Sambhavanakal Mundriniti Jnanapita Award Labichital Ere Santoshamantu. Thank you very much. Namaskar. Jai Hind.
India has made this evening a memorable one with his distinguished presence and illuminating words. Thank you, sir. I now invite Professor Omchiri N.N. Pillai, eminent playwright, and the jury committee chairman of the TVR Shanai Excellence Award Committee to deliver the vote of thanks. To deliver the words of thanks.
Honorable Vice President of India, Sri Venkaiah Naidu ji, respected Sri A.K. Antony, Saruja Shenoy, and the members of the Shenoy family, Professor K.B. Thomas, Vinod Sharma, my for making this event happen. Professor K.V. Thomas has for the society and for the good cause, several good causes. I was invited to all those who have achieved academic excellence. He did wanted it and wanted a merit scholarship. And finally I got on the government a merit scholarship, but the takeover at that time. It's very, very, very expensive thing to have. And today, students enjoy, more than 1,000 students get a scholarship from Thomas Foundation. Good causes, so many good causes.
The trust gives a scholarship for 2,000 to exchange ideas and get new ideas. Also, students are exposed to number of new projects, the projects and new developments in the country. Another project which I found remarkable, the